Hi, my name is Jacqueline Gutierrez and our team country is Russia. I will be talking about Russia's geography and a brief history about the country. The Russian Federation is the largest of 21 republics that make up the Commonwealth of Independent States and occupies most of the Eastern Europe and North Asia. It is bordered by Norway, Finland in the northwest, and Estonia, Latvia, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania in the west, and Georgia, Azerbaijan in the southwest, and Kazakhstan, Mongolia, China, North Korea along the southern border. Tradition states that Viking Boric came to Russia in 862 and was founded in the first Russian dynasty in Novgorod. The Russian Federation has over 150 million people and it covers an area greater than 6 million miles. The Russian country has gone through many changes in the recent years as communism ended in 1991. At the time, the USSR, as it was called, was separated into independent states, and the separation ended the communism that has lasted from 1917 to 1991.
I'm Philip, and I'm going to give you a brief understanding of the Russian perspective, or what shapes and guides how they see and interpret the world around them. Now, Russian culture is a high context culture, and like other high context cultures, what's actually being said matters less than the situation in which they're being spoken. You should be aware that indirect communication plays a large role. This again means that you'll have to rely on contextual clues rather than verbally explicit language. Contributing or underlying factors will heavily dictate the meaning of interactions and conversations. Now, just because Russian culture is different from ours doesn't mean you should look at them as unintelligent. In fact, Russian society is highly literate, well-educated, and has many English speakers. However, keep in mind that Russian society is also highly concentrated, meaning that wealth and power is held at the top by a minority. We also see that the majority of the population is grouped into large cities, and then these cities in turn receive the most national and foreign investment. Just in an example, 70% of foreign investment currently flows into Moscow, Russia's capital. Overall, Russian society places a lot of value on communities, relationships, and trust. These core values, combined with patience, are ingrained into Russian culture. Keep in mind, everything you do and how you do it will be analyzed by your Russian counterparts. Because relationships and trust play such a large role in Russian society, if you plan on venturing into Russia, it's important that you actually go there and meet with clients or partners. Now, your actions will be interpreted and have meaning to your Russian counterparts, so it's highly recommended that you go through a local Russian travel agency that has a good reputation or experience dealing with foreign business personnel. If you're unsure or need additional information when planning your trip, you can always contact the Russian Chamber of Commerce. When you're actually staying in Russia, most large cities have excellent metros, and it's a good idea to be near one since you'll be expected to arrive to your business meetings on time. Make sure to get double-sided business cards, one side in English, one in Russian. Research appropriate body and hand gestures. Brush up on current Russian social, political, and economic events for polite conversation, and participate in Russian cultural rituals like vodka toast and the banyan, Russian sauna. Now, since Russia is currently under international sanctions, it's a good idea to check with your host country, Russian, and international law for compliance before taking any further actions.
My name is Rocio. I'm going to be talking about collectivism in Russia. Russia has a collectivistic culture. What that means is family and work group goals are above individual needs or desires. Working with others and cooperating with others is the norm. Everyone supports each other, and it is common for them to use the word we instead of I. For example, if they are hanging out with friends or going with business partners, and they would say we with friends or we with business partners instead of I and my friends or I and my business partners. Group opinions are important. It's very common for them to work in groups, especially while doing business and making business decisions. They use indirect communication, and relationships are crucial in obtaining information and successful business negotiations.
I'll be talking about Russia's business formality. Russians are traditionally very punctual, especially when meeting foreigners. Russian is the official language in Russia, although many Russians speak English. Speaking or laughing loudly in public is considered rude, as Russians are generally more reserved and somber people. Meetings are always formal. The structural meeting is dependent on the host or senior present. Communication is formal at all meetings, even if less before or after. Make sure to use professional academic titles and surnames or names when addressing someone. In business meetings, to start a good conversation, talk about current events taking place in Russia and the current economic situation. Businessmen in Russia usually wear suits that are dark and well-tailored, along with good dress shoes that should be highly polished. Russian men often do not take off their jackets in negotiations. Do not stand with your hands in your pockets. It is considered very rude. Women should dress rather conservatively, avoiding overly fashionable and gaudy outfits. Women should always cover their heads when entering into any Russian Orthodox churches. Women should also always wear knee-length skirts and rather than pantsuits. When attending dinner in a citizen's home, wear a casual dress with slacks and a nice shirt without a tie to be appropriate. When shaking someone's hand, be sure to take off your gloves. If not, it is considered very rude to do so.
Hi, my name is Leanna. It is important to know that Russia is a general country of contradictions, where things are done in private one way and in public another. In public, they tend to be very closed off and not open to talking business with anyone. But in private, they are very open and inviting towards their guests. They view other countries as outsiders, whereas anyone visiting would be welcome to them. There are important ways that they conduct their business as well. To get a rise out of business people from other countries, they tend to thrash around and are known for throwing tantrums just to get a rise or any kind of expression out of the other. They take this very seriously and take your reaction very seriously. It is also important to know that decisions are not made as a whole, but by a single boss. Whereas if you're dealing with a large company, it's not going to be made by a committee or a council. It's going to be made by a single person. Compared to America, it's vastly different.
Hi guys, my name is Evelyn. I'm going to be going over time orientation and doing business with Russians. So the first thing that you should know is that patience is valued over punctuality. Appointments should be made as far as possible in advance, and confirming meetings when you arrive in the country is really important, as well as confirming meetings a day or two in advance of the actual meeting. And when you're making a confirmation, it should be with a person you're doing business with or with his or her secretary. Meetings can also be canceled on short notice, so just be aware of that. And Russians believe that if they are late, it's not a big deal, but they expect you to be punctual. Russians will not apologize for their own business or tardiness, and their behavior is mainly to test your patience. Being 15 minutes late is not good, but neither a crime. Apologize for being late and blame it on traffic if possible. Small talk is usually presented before any actual business is discussed within the meeting, and the small talk should not be any longer than anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It is said that when you are beginning a meeting, the head of the organization will open the discussions. An introduction should be then made in a matter of importance. You should use your time effectively to show how your business differentiates from those of your competitors. And meetings and negotiations are typically slow because Russians do not like to be rushed. And last but not least, things take longer than expected, and meetings will not end until every point has been covered. And that's pretty much all you have to know about dealing with time orientation and business with Russia.
Thank you, team. As we conclude, remember to draw off the experiences of successful Western companies in Russia. Pepsi-Cola, the first American company to do business with the then Soviet Union, attributes their success in the region to investing in infrastructure and jobs in Russia, not engaging in polarizing political or business decisions, and building relationships within the Russian government. We highly encourage you to do additional research on the people you'll be meeting with and the area you'll be visiting. But now that you have a deeper understanding of Russian culture, specifically context, formality, communication, individualism, and attitudes towards time, you have the foundation to start or further business development in Russia.